world news. Cuba's move to an entirely electronic banking system is causing concerns for small businesses that need access to cash to pay suppliers.
All right, Shalom Israel. I want to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai, Ba'ashem Rakakwadash. Yahweh is who the world ignorantly calls God. Yahweh Shai is his son, who the world ignorantly calls Jesus Christ. And there's no God beside them. I want to give double honor to the elder apostles and the elder bishops of Great Millstone for being faithful witnesses to the Holy Spirit, and salutations to the elect whom the Most High have given ears to hear. Today's lesson is going to go into this article that I just played for brothers. All right, which this article came out. All right, yesterday. Okay, it came out yesterday, August 21st, 2023. Okay, yeah, August 21st, 2023. Which is 2023, coined by the beloved elder apostle Tahar, is the year where all prophecies will hopefully come to pass. And the biggest prophecy that's making headlines all across the world is a cashless society, which we know will lead to Revelations 13 and 16, to where the scriptures say he calls it for all, both small and great, rich and poor, to receive a mark, all right, in their foreheads, on their right hands, in their body. Which that mark says you not be able to buy or sell, right? And with this cashless society, as we're going to read, you're going to see that a lot of people, whether they're with it, you know, it makes sense or not, this devil's going for it. All right, he's going for prophecy, because as it is also written, Proverbs 21, that the king's heart is in the hand of the Lord. He turneth it whithersoever he will. And we're in a time to where this book is speaking loudly, right? So it says, as Cuba takes leap towards cashless economy, entrepreneurs brace for impact. All right, and when you think about somebody bracing for impact, they are reluctant to it, right? So it says, when Cuba in early August announced it was taking a major step toward electronic banking in a cashless society, the offices of fledgling small businesses across the communist-run country were left scrambling to figure out how to respond. Most alarming to many budding entrepreneurs was a new 5,000 peso, $20 daily cap on cash withdrawals for businesses, one of several measures the government said were aimed at forcing Cubans to do their transactions electronically. Right? Because as a business owner, you want to cater to all your customers. So if a customer comes in with cash, you want to make sure that you have enough cash on hand, all right, to supply him with the change that he might need. However, if you can only take out $20 daily, how many customers that come in with cash can you help? And the government knows that, all right, which is why they know that the businesses is going to have to start turning people away. And for the people that need, they're eventually going to have to get with the program. All right, but as we read on, it says one of several measures the government said were aimed at forcing Cubans to do their transactions electronically via transfer, online payment, and bank cards. The changes were needed to stem a cash shortage, Cuban central officials said, as the fast falling peso and soaring consumer prices combined to drain bank reserves and ATM machines. The demand for cash was growing faster than what we could provide to our bank branches, said Albert Quinones, vice president of Cuba's central bank. The changes are being rolled out gradually over the next 6 months, officials say, but concerns over their impact are already causing difficulties, said Julieta Hernandez, founder and manager of Pilares Construction, a private Havana-based builder that employs 60 people. We understand there is a crisis and the need for banking, but this is our money, Hernandez said. Her business had already adopted electronic banking, but she often needs quick access to cash to pay for emergencies on job sites, she added. Exactly. Because this is a new concept. So again, here it is, you're on a job site. You can't finish this portion of the job because you ran out of certain material. So you have to go out and buy material. And the material that you have to get, a lot of stores only accept cash. So again, this is the devil's plan to force you into submission. Right? And note as we read that this guy, what's his name? Alberto Quinones, he basically mentions how this is an answer to the failing dollar, and you brothers take note that this is going to be a recurring mindset throughout the world, to where that dollar is failing. All right, especially now that you have the BRICS nations getting ready to implement, their digital currencies. A lot of these countries are gonna have to get with the program. It says, I believe also Cuba, mind you, Cuba is also doing a lot of business with Russia. So they were eventually gonna have to go cashless anyway. But it says, her business had already adopted electronic banking. Okay, even before the new restrictions, Cuban entrepreneurs face what might seem insurmountable hurdles anywhere else: spotty electricity and internet, widespread fuel shortages, and no practical way to legally exchange large amounts of local currency into the dollars needed to import merchandise from abroad. Just 3 days, I'll read that again. Even before the new restrictions, Cuban entrepreneurs face what might seem insurmountable hurdles anywhere else: spotty electricity and internet, widespread fuel shortages, and no practical way to legally exchange large amounts of local currency into the dollars needed to import merchandise from abroad. Just 3 days after the rules were put in place, Hernandez said more bad news rose then. Many of her suppliers, once amenable to electronic transfers, were now only accepting cash for fear of losing access to the paper money they needed to operate. The opposite of what the law intended. That has put businesses like Pilares Construction in a bind. The company needs cash to operate, but is prohibited from extracting it in sufficient quantities from its local accounts. Right now, the effect is like paralysis, Hernandez said, adding that many business owners were already freezing investments. People are waiting to see if a solution is found for the problems the rules have created. 5 entrepreneurs Reuters spoke with said the measures could dampen enthusiasm for investment in private businesses that sell food, fix cars, build houses, and provide other goods and services, where state-run enterprises have falter. Privately incorporated enterprises re-emerged in Cuba just 2 years ago. Beyond renting rooms to tourists or some small-scale services, such businesses was effectively frozen for decades, following a ban by former leader Fidel Castro. The government has since green-lighted the establishment of thousands of small companies. For many Cubans born and raised in communism after Castro's 1958 revolution, that has represented a major cultural shift, said Leonardo Rodriguez, who runs Kaiboku, a Havana-based small business that produces processed foods. Rodriguez said he and many other entrepreneurs began using electronic banking long before the new measures were announced to comply with tax laws that evolved with the growing private sector. The devil was providing more incentives, for those who got with the program early. But again, not everybody has the capital, or not everybody has the capital, or not everybody has the gain set aside to do that. Again, as a business, you have to cater to your customers. But it says but for many small businesses and mom and pop stores in Cuba, the formalities of doing business, like paying taxes, remain novel concepts, he said. Cubans have been doing business on the street for years without ever knowing what a tax system is. Rodriguez said in an interview in Havana, noting that most operated illegally or on the fringe. In the world we're coming into, this devil wants to eliminate all of that. He wants it all. Declaring our sales, declaring our income, these concepts are very new. Cuban officials have said the new banking measures are necessary for transparency. You see, look up that word transparency. It's just the quality of allowing light to pass through so that objects behind can be distinctly seen. All right. So this devil don't want no secrets. Cuban officials have said the new banking measures are necessary for transparency. All right, no secrets. I want to see everything what you're doing at all times. All right. And mind you, these central banks are essentially ran by the upper elites. The super rich, the trillionaires, the gazillionaires. If that's even a word, but it tells us in we're gonna grab that Psalms 10. But yeah, you know what? Let's grab that. Psalms 10, verse 5. Bear with me. I want to see what it says in the NLT. Yeah, this is Psalms chapter 10, verse 8. Ten and 7. Their mouths are full of cursing, lies, and threats. Trouble and evil are on the tips of their tongues. They lurk in ambush in the villages, waiting to murder innocent people. They are always searching for helpless victims. And the tribes, especially over there in Cuba, I know someone that went over there a few years back, and they said it's bad over there. It's very bad. So it's not like these street vendors are, getting rich off of their business. They just getting by. But this devil was like, nah, he doesn't even want that. He wants your blood, sweat, and tears, and your the D to the N. You know the last word. Let's just say that he wants your blood, sweat, and tears at all times. And that's not enough. And that's not even enough. Right? It says they are always searching for helpless victims. Like lions crouch in hiding, they wait to pounce on the helpless. Like hunters, they capture the helpless and drag them away in nets. All right? To where he will push that MOTB on you. You take that, you are basically in a net. Right? You see, once that cashless society is fully implemented, which will lead to the MOTB, there will be no backdoor deals. You will be fully transparent, all right? Or you will be cut out of society. As a matter of fact, those that try to help the reluctant, all right, will be enemies of the state. All right? This devil is coming down with some brand new, harsh, more draconian taxes. All right, so to speak, to tax the people. It says in Santiago de Cuba, the unofficial capital of the country's eastern farm provinces, the government this week recruited members of local computer clubs to hit the streets and train passerbys on the basic of cell phone payments. But Ronald Venero, a 34-year-old Havana street vendor who sells fruit and vegetables he buys from farmers outside the city, said most farmers he meets from the countryside remains a world apart from the modern convenience of mobile internet and electronic payments. The farmers who come to sell us merchandise deal in cash, he said. You tell them you are going to pay by card or a transfer, and they'll tell you no. And I was actually talking to someone that lives over in South America, and where she lives at, she was telling me that it's basically the same way. That for the most part, people use cash, which, is different because where she lives at, it's on the border of Brazil. So in Brazil, being that, pretty sure because Brazil is part of the BRICS too, that's more of a cashless society as opposed to where she lives at. The internet is not so prevalent in a lot of businesses, so they're forced to do business in cash. And no matter how stupid, no matter how sticky it is, this devil will push that on you, right? Because if the central banks, which loan money to these smaller banks, is forcing it, then the smaller banks have to essentially force it upon the people that they give loans to. Which is going to be a lot of riots. Look for more riots across the world, which Yahweh Shai said, because a lot of people is not going to be with that shit. And then it's like, you restricting my money. You're holding my money hostage. And then you're gonna have a lot of people that, come privy to it. It's gonna start taking as much money as they can out. It's gonna get real bad out here real soon. And as Yahweh Shai told us to watch and pray that ye enter not into temptation. All right, this is what we're watching for. We're watching for the prophecies. And that's what you should be watching for as well. Right? Like the scriptures say, if you have watched, you have not suffered your house to be broken through. All right? Many people are going to be taken by surprise because they're not watching. But we're going to end it here. This wasn't meant to be a long lesson. This is, I think it's 2 Peter 1:20. 1:19 we'll start. We have a more sure word of prophecy, whereunto ye do well that ye take heed as into a light that shineth in a dark place, until the day dawn and the day star arise in your hearts. You know, you may come across this video and ask, you know, what do we do in this society? Well, it's appointed to you to have faith. You know, whereas wisdom and knowledge shall be the stability of thy time. All right, and the fear of the Lord is the strength of your salvation. You know, so I say have faith. All right, if you can, of course, you know, stockpile up food, and you know what's coming down the pipeline. So while you can, you know, try to store up some more food and, you know, cash, you know, put some cash aside and so on and so forth. Nevertheless, it's really about faith, because eventually all of that is going to be obsolete. You know, you can't stockpile so much food, because hell, the scriptures say that it's also written that, you know, people shall be looting one another's houses. That's why the scriptures say, set your affection on things above, where man cannot break through and steal. So it's more important to have faith, because the Lord said his servants is going to eat. All right, he not suffer his servants to famish. All right, but it says we have also a more sure word of prophecy, whereunto you do well that ye take heed as into a light that shineth in a dark place, until the day dawn and the day star arise in your hearts. It's going to be a lot of confusion. You know, things are going to be moving fast, and from the everyday hustle and bustle what you're used to is going to change. Okay, so with that, shalom to the elect.